Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran Get Out There.
Okay. Take two.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast.
Did not do that. We'll try one more time because I'm relentless.
Welcome to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast. Join Pam Perry, veteran PR strategist, Emmy award-winning producer and publisher of Speakers Magazine, podcast, who will join
there. So again, this is Pam Perry, and thank you for joining Get Out There and Get Known podcast. My intro was stopping, but I am not. So I'm going to really tell you a little bit about today. Our guest that we have today, Michelle McKinney Hammond, who is all the way from Ghana today. But let me give you a little bit about Michelle. Michelle wasn't always in Ghana. She is known as the Queen of Reinvention. Michelle McKinney Hammond leads audiences on a journey through what it means to be empowered to live their fullest potential, be significant, acquire spiritual completion, and experience fulfilling love. She brings a refreshing perspective to the age-old scriptural principles and transformational truths. Profound lessons laced with humor and practicality are her trademarks. She remains an unforgettable addition to any conversation or event. And I just love her because I've known her for probably over a couple of decades. I'm going to add her in, and we have Michelle McKinney Hammond.
Hi, Pam.
I don't know what was happening with my intro. It was like going in and out. I'm like, you know what? We are still going to keep it moving.
Well, I'm just glad that technology proves you cannot replace humans. Not quite yet.
Yes, that is so true. So Michelle is, the bio really didn't do justice because she's done so much. She's had television shows. She records records. She's an actress. She writes films or produces films. She's had, I want to say, 25 books.
42.
42. Okay. So double plus. Okay. 42 books. Yeah. They were all bestsellers, just about all of them. If not, I know in the millions of copies. And so people who know Michelle McKinney Hammond know that the quality that she brings, the refreshness that she brings, and just really people who love her, follow her, and adore her know that she didn't just end up here. She didn't just end up here. So she's going to tell us a little bit of how her story started and some of the people that are along the way that really helped her get to where she is, because 42 books and being a well-known brand did not happen overnight. So, Michelle, if you can kind of tell our audience a little bit about how you started and then some of the pivotal points of where you kind of knew that your career was going to be a full-time speaker and author.
Mm-hmm. Well, my background actually was advertising, Pam, and I think I met you at that point, to be perfectly honest.
Yes.
And I was an art director, copywriter, producing commercials for McDonald's and Coca-Cola. And I think you had clients that you would bring to us, and that's how we first met. And then later, you were also instrumental in helping me do what I do. So you've been in my life for a very long time. I think you're just one of my God kisses, and you permanently stained on my cheek somewhere.
Yeah.
You know, that's all right for me. But so I lost my job for a year at Burrell and moved to California, where I met Bunny Wilson, who wrote Liberated Through Submission, had a fellowship out there for celebrity Christians called Fellowship West. I got very involved with them. Moved back to Chicago, got my job back at Burrell, but kept those friendships and those relationships going. And I had really been struggling with being a Christian single, and then finally had that breakthrough moment when I was excited and sharing with her what God had given to me to get me to that place. And she said, you need to write a book about that. Now, Bunny had just written a book called Knight in Shining Armor, which was published by Harvest House. And I said, Bunny, I can't write no book. I'm in advertising. 30 seconds. That's it for me. That's all I got. She said, girl, as much as you like to talk, there's a book in there. It's just one long conversation. I said, okay. So I started kind of writing, what my struggle was with, Christian, with being a Christian and being single. And I wrote a chapter and I thought that was cute. And then being a happy sanguine, I forgot about it after that, because I was busy running around the world doing commercials for Coca-Cola and McDonald's and Ford, going to Soul Train Awards and having myself a good time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
So I get fired from Burrell. I get hit by a car. And so 3 surgeries and a year and a half in bed later, I finished that book, What to Do Until Love Finds You.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Now, my friends stood around my bed as I was laid there in this machine that was moving my knee up and down and said, what do you think God is saying to you? I said, I don't know. They said, what do you think about that book you started writing 2 years ago and never finished? Why don't you finish that? So a friend of mine literally would come over every Sunday and I laid in bed and would write. And she would send out query letters. And Pam, I had a huge stack, hundreds of rejections. I always told the people at Harvest House, I wish I could find your rejection letter, because they sent me one too initially.
And they end up publishing millions of your books.
They ended up publishing over 20 of my books, right? So finally, this little publisher, small independent publisher, picked it up. And so I got an attorney to look at the contract, and the attorney said, this contract is so bad, I don't want any part of this. If you want to go with these people, you can sign it by yourself. Peace, I'm out.
Oh, no. He said, this is so bad.
They said it was so bad. So I said, man. So I called Bunny and I said, Bunny, these people want my book. And my attorney said I shouldn't sign with them. She said, well, let me read it. So I sent it to her. She said, let me send it to my publisher. Mm-hmm. So she called the publisher, which was Harvest House, and told them about it. Bill Jensen, who is now an agent. I spoke to him and he was kind of like standoffish, like, well, let me look at it, So, okay. So that, he had looked at it and I never heard from him. So I was going to go with this little. So when my attorney told me not to sign that contract, I called him and I said, look, I just turned down a publishing deal. Mm-hmm. I really want to be with Harvest House. Mm-hmm. So I'm coming back to you before I start shopping my book anywhere else. He said, give me 3 weeks. I said, okay. And 2 weeks later, he called me and he said, I'm coming to Chicago to meet you. Unbeknownst to me, he had gone into Bob Hawkins' office, who was the president of Harvest House, and said, this woman is a real writer. I want to grow old with her. We have got to sign her. Wow. He said, well, if you feel that strongly about it, go ahead. So he came and he signed me. And What to Do Until Love Finds You came out. And it sold out of its first printing in 3 weeks, 12,000 copies. Whoop! And they were like, what happened? She's an unknown author. And I was like, Jesus is the author. He's very well known.
Alfreda says one of my favorite authors, very inspiring, a single coach. Okay.
Oh, wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you so much for that. So, Pam, publishing was very different then than it is now. They had their own PR person and they sent me out on interviews. We did 700 Club. We did Huntley Street in Canada. I went to Winnipeg and did It's a New Day. I think I was on the Gavin McLeod show.
Daystar.
Yeah, Daystar. They just sent you all over the place, and it was very heady. It was, I was like,
it was good.
Yeah, I was like, what just happened to my life? I mean, I wasn't really ready for any of it. I kind of like said, well, this is cute. Let me finish this book. And then poof, the whole world blew up. Next
But,
thing they
but
covered me.
I do want to say this, Michelle. So you and Bunny, you were at Harbor House. It was not like it was a Black Christian publishing house. It was in Oregon, I believe.
It was in Eugene, Oregon, still is.
So you're one of the few that they had, if not the first two.
We were the only. Yeah, we were the only. Let's put it that way. Let's just get real here. We were the only. Now they have more now. I mean, Deborah Smith-Piguet has done a lot of books with them. She's a dear friend of ours as well, and several others. But I remember
you guys were trailblazers.
Yeah, I remember going to CBA, which is the Christian Booksellers Association, which was their huge conference that they had every year. And there weren't any Black people there. I mean, I remember people would come up to me and say, "Where are the other Black authors?" And I was a little embarrassed. I mean, T.D. Jakes wasn't even out yet,
No,
so
he wasn't publishing books yet.
Yeah, it was just me and Bunny. And people would just line up to just see us. We were like a circus attraction almost, because it was like, look at these Black people here, wow, And I'll never forget that my first books did not have my picture on them. And I remember they finally decided to put my picture on one, Sassy, Single, and Satisfied.
Yes. And that blew up.
It blew up. I mean, like over 100,000 copies were like, because people were like, "Oh my God, a Black author!" The Black folks finally found me.
It was in Today's Christian Woman. I remember that. You were in there. And it was like, oh my God. Yes.
I'll never forget that, because I was at CBA and I came out of the bathroom and I ran into Liz Curtis Higgs, who I did not know at the time.
Okay.
Who's a huge, and she walked up to me, and I had hair kind of like what you're wearing right now. And she said, "I like your hair. Is it yours?" And I said, "Well, I paid for it, so I guess it is."
And Liz is crazy, so she could handle that answer. Okay,
she said, "You're funny. I want you to come to my breakfast." I still did not know who she was. So I was like, "What time is the breakfast?" And she said 7 a.m. I was like, "Ooh, child, that's really pushing it for me. I'm not a morning person." The Holy Spirit said, "You better get up and go to that breakfast." So I got up and I went to the breakfast. I was late, I was Ghanaian before I knew I was Ghanaian. Anyway. I got there and kind of slithered into my seat, and everybody was already talking, and I was the last person, and she had everybody stand up and introduce themselves. I did not know that this was some like exclusive event that I should have felt privileged to be at. And so I stood up and I just said, "Hello, I'm Michelle McKinney Hammond. I'm a new author. My book is What to Do Until Love Finds You. I'm with Harvest House, and it's a book for singles because there is no single stuff out there." And I basically said that and sat back down. So this woman taps me on the back and says, "I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay." So afterwards, she comes to me and she says, "I went to Today's Christian Woman magazine, and we'd really like to interview you about your book. Can we have lunch and be back when we get back to Chicago?" I said, "Sure." So I get back to Chicago, and I think we're just going to have lunch and have a nice time. She shows up with photographers and all kinds of stuff. And she's Yes.
Like I remember that. I remember that issue. That was a big deal.
It was a big deal.
They did not have Black people in Today's Christian Woman.
No.
Not with a photo shoot. Talking about sassy, and you're going to be Christian? Like, what is that? How you going to be sassy?
They ended up putting me on the cover. I think of the first Black person ever on their cover. And it was a big deal. And so then after that, I ended up on the cover of The Plain Truth. They said that I was one of 3 women at the time. And that was Mother Teresa and what's her name? Bush. First Lady Bush.
Barbara Bush.
And I was like, what? So,
that's a trailblazer. And that's just really thinking of someone who has in Chicago working in advertising. At that point, hit by a car, not really sure she's going to write a book, started a book. And then, it's like God knew. It's like, okay, well, I guess I'm going to do this book thing. And so basically your book sold. The average book, just so people know, the average book sells about 200 to 300 copies a year. Mm-hmm. Michelle's first book was like 1,000 times more than that. Her first book. So by this time, Sassy Single, can't think of.
Well, it was What to Do Until Love Finds You was first, and they came back and said, what do you want to write next? And I was like, I got to keep this up. I thought I had done, the assignment, and so I ended up writing Secrets of an Irresistible Woman, which also became a bestseller and sold over 100,000 copies, like bam.
Denise Waters says that was her favorite book. Denise Waters Coates. Yeah, she said that was her favorite.
Wow, great. And it's still selling. I mean, it's just amazing. That book has never, stopped selling, those two books. And then I wrote The Power of Being a Woman. It was actually The Art of Femininity. Ooh. I ended up on the Bill Maher show. With
That's unusual. And he's a big
politically incorrect. Yeah. And I ended up doing then after that I did If Men Are Like Buses, How Do I Catch One? I ended up on BET.
How do you come up with these titles going through this traditional Christian publishing houses? That's what I'm saying. You are just like wrecking all of the paradigm.
Yeah. And then Sassy Single and Satisfied came out after that. Mm-hmm.
That has to be my favorite title. I love it.
I ended up on BET and Soap Talk with that one. And then I did Sassy Single and Satisfied, and that became a bestseller, over 100,000 copies.
That became like a movement at that point, because then it became like a movement, because people were just saying that all the time about themselves. Was that when you did the conference in Chicago? When was around there?
I did the conference after the Diva Principle came out, which was another bestseller.
Yes,
it was over 100,000 copies. And that's when I started having Diva Principle conferences, and women came from all over the world for them. And it was a whole weekend. It was just healing, and it was just pretty amazing. So, one thing just led to another, led to another, led to another.
You did the TV show.
Yes. Well, you know what? By then, so let me back up a minute, because after the cover of Today's Christian Woman came out, I got a call. I had met a woman, Carol Kent, and she was actually the one that trained me to be a speaker. And she's from Michigan. Yes, I just finished doing her speakers conference right before this call.
Yeah, that was in Grand Rapids. Yeah, in Grand Rapids. Duh.
Yes. So now she said, I want to represent you. I think you're going to be an amazing speaker. And I was like, I don't think I want to do that speaking thing. I don't think I know nothing about that. Mm-hmm. And she was like, oh, yes, you're a speaker. So she took all my information. So she calls me and says, I just got a call from the Women of Virtue tour, and they want you to do 12 dates with them. I was like, huh?
What?
Oh my goodness. So I packed up my little mother. I packed up my little mommy and said, Mommy, you can come and do my book table. And I had, like my little I had just one book at that time. So my mother, I'll never forget the story. She said she set up the table. She put 10 in a little fan on the table. And this woman came and told her, oh, no, honey, you need to put the whole box on the table. And she said, after I spoke, the doors flung open and those women descended on her. She didn't know what happened. When she looked up, all the books were gone, So it was a whole new experience for us. And all of a sudden, I was on this talking circuit because, of course, every time I went somewhere, women went back to their churches and told their pastors that they had to bring me. So next thing I knew, I literally was on a plane 2 to 3 times a week. And I ended up speaking everywhere. The Crystal Cathedral, Eddie Long's church, Creflo Dollar, the Potter's House. I did Women Thou Art Loose conferences. Yes. There's still one video that keeps going viral every year. It resurfaces and goes viral all over again. Millions of people have watched it. So I was just running to keep up with Jesus. And then after that, I ended up speaking. I was on tour with E-Women for years. I went from when they were doing venues of 500 people to them doing stadiums with 20,000. So literally, but it was a progression. And I think that people need to know that I didn't quit my day job when this stuff started happening. Yeah.
I want you to tell that to people. Yeah. Because you really did. Because the advance they give you is a good advance, but you've got to earn that back and get the royalties, right? Yeah. So it's not like
exactly.
So people have to understand that, and then it just takes time and that sort of thing. But going on television, because you came to Detroit, you did CTN with Glenn Plummer 2 or 3 times. Did TT, Total Christian Television, you did that, And then every time you do that, books would sell, but then also
Mhm.
people would ask you to speak. And that's really how
Yes.
the whole things the books would sell and the people would ask you to speak. And then when they would ask you to speak, I remember you spoke at Marvin Sapp's church. Um,
Mm-hmm.
Melinda brought you in, Melinda Sapp. I miss her so much. I think about her
Yes.
so much. She was so
Yes.
cute. But you spoke there and then the books would sell out. But
Mm-hmm.
the point of it is that you were open to what God had for you next. And you knew
Yes.
when was time. If you're going 2 or 3 times a week traveling, you knew when it's time, you got to leave the job because,
Yeah.
it's like,
Well,
I'm
here
a
was the thing.
time.
Fortunately for me, I was doing freelance advertising. So it gave me a little bit of leeway where I was free to travel, but I still had to work to maintain because I like nice things and I like living a certain way. And, so I kept working and I actually told God, I said, God, if you want me to go into full-time ministry, I'm going to leave it up to you how to make that happen financially. I used to do a lot of voiceover commercials. I ended up doing a Big Red commercial. Now the flavor you love lasts longer than ever. That became my salary for a year, and
Wow.
it freed me to be able to do the speaking engagements and not feel that pressure. I still filled in with freelance jobs,
Yeah.
but then I would travel, and then eventually ministry overtook that, and I was able to let that go.
Wow. Wow. So you did voiceovers too.
Mm-hmm.
And
I
that's
sang on jingles. I sang on jingles and did voiceovers.
man, that is Yolanda Spearman. She's on here and she's like, amen, amen. She's a voiceover artist as well.
Oh.
And she says, you're talking to me. Thank you for sharing this. So that is
Mm.
good. She said, thank you, you're talking to me. Thank you. So one of the things too that I remember, so you did the thing in Chicago. So let's go back to your event.
Mhm.
He did it in a very upscale place in
Mhm.
Chicago, and it was
Yeah.
primarily African American women. Tell us about the first time that you did that, because I remember you were saying that people were like, "What? What is this diva thing going on?" And this was like in the high rent district of Chicago, and you got
Yes.
black women stepping in here with all these hair, nails, and heels
Yes.
on.
It was the Diva Principal Conference, and they came from Friday to Sunday. It was held at the Hyatt. People flew in. They flew in from Hawaii. They flew in from all over the states. I even had some people come in from England. We had
Wow!
about 250 women for the first one.
Oh my God!
And it started with a book club on Friday afternoon where we went through my novel.
Ah,
And it was, I
what
wanted
was the
something,
novel? Which novel was that?
the last 10% and playing God. And let me just do a
Okay.
shameless plug right here because Akosua Buzia, who was Nettie on The Color Purple,
Mhm.
has started an audiobook company called
Oh.
Speak the Word. And she is featuring my novels this month on her
Oh
Speak
my
the Word.
God. Is that
Yes.
on
So
Audible or where is that?
it's no, she's like Audible. It's called Speak the Word. It's
Speak
a
the word.
Audible, yeah, Speak
This
the
is going
Word
to be
book.
in the show notes because I definitely want people to do that. Nettie. Okay.
Yes, yes. So
Speak the
the,
word.
the
Okay.
last the last 10% is the book that she is featuring, and we'll be following up with Playing God, which are my two novels. But
And that is out of the 42 books. So she did 2 novels, just so that you know. And I'm not trying to put any shade on anybody that writes nonfiction, but writing novels is a different mind than writing the
mhm,
nonfiction books. So
definitely.
this is a woman that said, I don't want to be a writer. I can't write no book. And next thing you know, she's written 42 books and 2 of them are novels. Okay. And then this is one, I don't want to speak. And she's spoken on like thousands and thousands of stages in front of millions and millions of people. Okay. What else don't you say you gonna do that we know you gonna do?
Well, I'm doing a little bit of everything, but it's so funny. I have to, so many people have asked me when is the movie coming out or when is the
Yes.
television series happening with those 2 novels, because everybody fell in love with the characters, and they've been beating me up for part 3, and I'm like, oh gosh, But and that totally just came out of, I don't know where that came from, but it was totally a different writing experience because I love my self-help and telling folk what to do, but I was able to paint characters that people could relate to and see themselves in, and still teach lessons based on their horrible choices and their brokenness, and see also reconciliation and take place. So I really loved the experience. People fell in love with them. I've had 2 book clubs based on those, Pam, and it's amazing how the women from those book clubs, they started a WhatsApp group. And they still talk to each other all day, every day since that book club ended. So it really created some bonds and deep friendships, because the things in the novel were so vulnerable. I mean, one book club, we had to extend the book club because there was one club, all they did was cry. They just cried the whole time. And I was like, wow, we didn't get nothing done this session. We're going to have to add another session to finish this book, because they just cried. It was hilarious, but it really, touched them. And so for me, that's such a feeling of accomplishment to push buttons on that level. But the thing that I think that is critical to know here is that there's no Cinderella story when it comes to this, that it takes years. It takes you being consistent in creating a momentum, and not giving up. One thing led to another, and I have to say that it's a very different world in publishing now than it was then. Publishers, I think, championed you more back then. Since then, and you could probably speak to this more now, if you go for a publishing deal, they want to know how many followers you have, and all that kind of stuff that really doesn't mean anything, because you can have no followers and have followers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they're really pushing you into social media. So you've got to have that going on, and you've got to become inventive in the way you do things. I have not done books for several years, because I I moved to Ghana.
Right.
I moved to Ghana, and I think that a lot of publishers felt like I fell off the face of the earth, which is not true, because people buy books.
Ghana's not near the moon. Ghana's not near the moon.
No, Ghana is like,
I'm just kidding.
10-hour flight.
Right. It's like it's you don't have to take a rocket to get there. It's just a regular airplane. You don't have to get on Russell Branson's. Yeah.
And people buy books here. They buy tons of books, more so than ebooks. So actually, publishers are missing the mark by ignoring Africa, by ignoring Europe, where people still like a good, solid book in their hand more than they like ebooks. So it's really a big mistake on their part to ignore this market. And I'm telling you what, Africa will not be ignored, because I drive down the street every day and I see my books on the road, and I know they didn't come from the publisher. I know that they've gotten it, copied it, and they're selling. Okay.
Wow. They were like, we're going to make sure it happens. So one of the things, your last book you did was a self-published book. So tell us about that process. That was your first self-published book.
Well, actually, I bought it back from my publisher and self-published it, because I felt that we were at an important time in history. Kamala Harris was running for vice president. In the midst of COVID, the countries that did the best were led by women. More women were being elected to heads of states and countries. My cousin, Mia Motley, is a woman and is the Prime Minister of Barbados. So I thought that it was an important time to talk to women, because there was a lot of women's empowerment jargon floating around, and I felt that it needed to be put back into kingdom perspective before we hurt ourselves. So I went to my publisher and I said, I'd like to release the book. And they had reasons for why they couldn't do it in that time frame, and maybe by 2022. I said, the conversation might be over by then. If you're not going to do anything, can I have my book back? They gave it back to me very graciously. And so I re-released it, and it did very well. And it's still, selling. The Power of Being a Woman. We did a book club with it. And, so you've got to take life into your own hands in publishing about now. Yes, you can still get a great publishing deal, but they're not as fluid as they were before. And you've got to come up with different ways of getting the word out if that's what you want to do.
That is it. So, Michelle McKinney Hammond, I just really appreciate you. You are singing. You also are in some movies, or you're doing a little bit of acting.
Yeah.
Okay. So that all the creativity feels like has been unleashed in terms of
Yes.
everything that's why they call you the reinvention queen, because you
Yes.
got the ministry, you got the music, you've got the books, the book club, and so every week you do something on Zoom. How do people get a part of that? Because you actually have a thing where people can join you every week on Zoom.
Yes, if they go to my website at michellehammond.com and sign up on my email list, they will get a letter, or they can go into Eventbrite and look for MMH Hangout. MMH Hangout. We now, during COVID, from April to September, I had a meeting every Saturday, and women came, and men also came from all over the world into those calls. Now I do the first Saturday of every month.
Okay.
And we always have some amazing guests. We've had people like Cynthia Hale. We've had, I'm trying to think now, Deborah Smith Piguet. We've had Derek Griffith. We've had, we've had famous people, not so famous people. But
did Terry come? Have you had Terry McFadden?
Yes, Terry McFadden, Solomon came on. And, we've had all kinds of people. And so we do everything from relationships to finance to you name it. Oh, Lynn Richardson was on one week.
Yeah.
So, we just have a great time. And people make friends. I mean, it's a place to network, because we do breakout rooms, as well as cover a topic and have a Q&A session. So it just is just about building up people. So that's the free one. And then I have Love You University, Love You Masterclass, which is a relationship masterclass that I'm doing, and the next semester starts in September.
Okay.
And then I'll be starting Come Home with Michelle tours starting in November and continuing next year with trips to Ghana, where I will do not just the sightseeing, but they'll also have a masterclass with me on identity when they're here.
So people definitely have to sign up to know what's going on with you.
Yes.
That part sounds really good. Me and Mark are like planning to do that with you, like come over there. So
yes, you need to.
He mentioned that not too long ago, and I told him, I said, I'm going to be interviewing Michelle. He says, okay, when are we going to Makana? I said, it's coming. The world just opened like a month ago. Okay, it just opened like a month ago. Really,
I'm telling you, people are dashing here. They're looking for property to buy and settle down. They're like, we have had enough,
Wow.
So it's been amazing influx of visitors we've had. Our president shut the border for 7 months. So I lived in London for 7 months.
Woo.
And thank you. Oh, there's someone, Monica has attended them, and she's in the Love You Masterclass. So there you go. Thank you for that testimony, Monica. But so I was in London, and that was when I started the whole hangout thing. And then came back home and said, well, because to be perfectly honest, Pamela, I just feel in my spirit that the COVID experience is going to be like a 3-year drama, and so we've got to find alternate ways of reaching people, because people are hungrier and thirstier than ever. Yes. Now is the time to really tap into that, to make the most of social media, to make the most of doing programs that feed people, and it's not a money issue. It is a calling issue. And when you do what you're called to do, God provides for you. I've been miraculously maintained. And, that is a testimony of God being Jehovah Jireh in all that he does. And, I think, too, that what it's doing is it's really separating the wheat from the chaff, and that those that are really ministry minded are finding their footing and how to do that. And those that were in it for business are falling off, because it's just not about that right now.
No.
So, yeah.
So Michelle McKinney Hammond, michellehammond.com. She is doing the thing. I'm telling you, in Trailblazer, but not just stopping at the Trailblazer. And she's continuing on the trail. And make sure that you do with the MMH Hangout. And she's got the books, The Power of Femininity.
And my music ministry.
Yes. Oh, my God. And on YouTube. So you could see some of her videos on YouTube as well. So your YouTube as well.
Very unique music. We write all of it ourselves. And my prayer is that we've got a an Easter and a Christmas cantata that we've done with all original music, telling the story of Easter and Christmas from Genesis to Revelations. And my dream is for us to travel and go on tour with that, because it is really groundbreaking and really exciting. It just makes the season relevant again. And that's our mission. Yeah.
Oh my God. I just love it. I love all the creative stuff that you're doing. It is amazing. And I want to say that, you could have stopped when you had 1 million books. You could have stopped here. You could, but you just keep going. And so it's just refreshing to see that you do all that you do. People can, have you speak virtually, or fly you to the States and you could do the tour.
I was just there. I was in the States, and I spoke at Bishop Bronner's, and I also spoke at for John Jenkins. I did a virtual Wednesday night Bible class for him and spoke for the Grace women. And I'll do it virtual. I'll do it live. I'm there.
Yes. Rodney C. Burr said he'll join you all on the Saturday call. So that
wonderful. Please do.
He's the one that's going to be coming to Ghana in September. So he wants to kind of meet you when he does his thing from.
Yes, we've been going back and forth on WhatsApp. I'm looking forward to him, and I'll have to have him do a hangout. So we'll talk about that. We'll pick a date.
That is cool. Yeah. I love it. So I am going to allow people to screenshot this, tag you on your social media, give people a little bit where you are on social media. I think Twitter, you're
McKinney Hammond. On Twitter and Instagram, I'm McKinney Hammond. And on everything else, I'm Michelle McKinney Hammond. Facebook, YouTube.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I knew it was.
My music ministry actually has their own, which is Relevance Life, on all the platforms.
Okay. All right. Cool. So I thank you so much for joining us today. There's a time zone difference. I think it's in the evening for you. It's like early afternoon for us.
It's 9:44 p.m.
Oh my God. Thank you so much. And I know you've had a busy day, but I want to get this in. And so make sure that that you sign up to get on to her hangouts and all the other things that she has coming up. Michelle, thank you so much.
Thank you, Pam. And can I just stop and say that I have so appreciated you over the years. You have always supported me. Even when you weren't assigned to me, you would find opportunities for me.
At CBA, yes. At CBA, I was like, okay, let me get them and put them over here with the other Black people that really love her. It's like, I was like, okay, we're going to have her on this special program. It's like, Harvest House was like, did she just ask for her to come? Yeah, we did. We're gonna have her over here doing this event. Yes, I see you and Bunny, both of you guys are like my favorite. It was like you were the first ones, the first breakout ones to really do that.
Praise God. I want to just encourage people, because each of us has a unique voice. We have our own way of doing what we do, and it's not about comparing yourself to someone else who's gone before you or is out there presently. It's really about embracing your unique voice, because you are the person that will touch someone that no one else can touch. And if you could just remember that when you're doing what you do and remembering why you're doing it, it will be successful, because you just give the best of what you have. And somebody will buy it. Trust me. Somebody's looking for you. Somebody is looking for you.
Yes. And you just have to show up. I always say those that show up, go up. So just show up and let just God do the rest.
Yes, exactly.
All righty. Thank you. Thank you so much, Michelle Hammond, MichelleHammond.com. I'm Pam Perry, and I'm out. Thank you all for watching and listening. All righty. Bye-bye.
Bye.
You've been listening to the Get Out There and Get Known podcast, brought to you by PamPerryPR.com, where you'll get insider tips on how to build your platform, pitch the media, and promote yourself with confidence. Head over to PamPerryPR.com and get the exclusive video training on the 7 must-have marketing materials you need before you pitch in order to be considered in media places or superstar stages. PamPerryPR.com, where you help you shine like a superstar.